had about 35 students. We have grown to 170 students with 10 part-time teachers. One piece of advice I would have for someone wanting to start their own music school is, hi, my name is Deborah Pratt. I started teaching music individually, private piano lessons mostly, just a few students at a time, and then went to get my master's in music education. And while I was there, I discovered information about the kinder music program. I got my training to be a kinder music teacher and then taught out of West Music in Coralville, Iowa for several years. I had about 35 students. When we moved to Southern Oregon, I sold that program and opened a kinder music studio here, then moved to a bigger location, added instruments and choir and voice, and hired several teachers and grew to be about 150 students, and had retail as well. Decided I didn't like the retail. I sold that. And now I'm in another location with there's no retail, just teaching. And we have grown to 170 students with 10 part-time teachers and 3 part-time staff. I started my music school because I have my degree in music education, but for a number of reasons, I didn't end up teaching in the public school system. And so I was working in administration at the University of Iowa. And I wanted to teach so badly. And when I went back to get my master's degree, that was really my goal. And when I discovered kinder music, that was something that I was able to start on Saturdays while I was still working in the administrative world. And then when we moved, I was able to start doing it full time. So it was really my alternative to working in the public school system, which wasn't possible for me at the time. And that's why I started the school. Well, my day starts early because I'm an early riser. So I get up anywhere between 4 and 6 or 7 in the morning. And I go out and watch the news with my husband and spend some time with him, and then get ready and go into the studio about 9 o'clock. I practice my cello. I've started learning cello. I've been playing it for about 10 years, and my goal is to play with the local community symphony. So I practice from 9 to 10, and then I start my day. I don't have admin in the morning. They come in about 2 o'clock, 1 or 2. I have 2 different part-time admin people. And so I answer phones, which aren't too busy that time of day, and answer my emails. I do all of the accounting work, posting deposits and things like that, reconciling accounts. I also do still teach 10 hours a week, so I take that time to write and send my lesson notes for each class. I do piano classes. I do some of the work on projects that I have going, like right now we're working on putting together a welcome packet for students and their parents, and all of the other ideas of things that I have to grow our studio. I try to work on those in the morning. I have so many ideas from Build a Music School. I'll never get them all done, but it's wonderful to have such a great resource and have that kind of help with the studio, things that I would never think to do. And then at 2 o'clock, my admin staff comes in, and I work with them on things that they might need my help with, or explaining things that have happened during the morning. They're still training as well. So I'm really working on delegating all of the things that I do, so that if I wasn't there for a week or 2, things could still run without me. That's quite a process. And I really, everything that I'm doing is working towards that end, because I'm near retirement age, and I don't really want to completely retire, but I'd like to be able to be flexible and leave, go visit my kids and stuff like that. So working on that. At 2 o'clock or at 3 o'clock, I start teaching. I have classes every day except Monday. And then about 6 o'clock, I clean up and head home. And at home, I'm always, if I have any energy left, which I usually do, I work on my computer doing things like working on the website or working on our monthly email, which we try to be really creative with. And actually those things I love doing they're my hobbies as well as being a job. So it's really fun for me to do those things at home at night, so it doesn't feel like work at all. And in fact, I love every minute of everything that I do. I go to bed about 10:30 or so, and then starts over the next day. I was really fortunate to have worked in administration, because some of the administration that I did was in the accounting world. And so I have a lot of skills that a lot of music teachers don't have in running their school. But the biggest challenge that I ever faced was when I took on retail. I thought, I was in kinder music, and I thought, wow, these instruments and these fun kid things, they're just going to jump off the shelves. And so I invested in, my husband helped me invest in quite a bit of retail for my third location that I had. And then not long after that, Walmart started carrying them all, a lot of the same things, and their prices were lower than my price I was paying for them. And as you can well imagine, I was underwater for quite a long time. And that was very challenging. Just the whole financial side of running a business like that was challenging. At that time, I did not have any subscription. Like I didn't have credit cards on file and automatically charge people. So they would sometimes not pay, and then I would have to go find them. And I hated that. So I went to a seminar, and I can't even remember who it was with. This was like back in 1985 or something, or 95, sorry. But one of the things that they recommended doing was the automatic pay system. And I went to that, and that changed my life. I mean, it was great. And I would never go back. And I think most people do that now. And if you're not doing it, you really should. There are still a few folks that, their card doesn't go through or whatever, but it's not nearly what it used to be. So I think that was probably my biggest challenge. And I didn't really get out of it until I sold the business. And as I said earlier, I didn't like retail, and mostly it's because with retail, you have to have your shelves stocked, or people think you're going out of business or something. You have to replace the things that you sell. And it just seems like a cycle that you can't get out of. I know some people do retail successfully, and maybe it's just not something that I have a skill to do. But that was my biggest challenge. And then probably right now, the reason that I started going with Build a Music School is that I was having a hard time growing. I got to a certain place, and it just kind of stayed there. I think a lot of it has to do with marketing, and I didn't know how to do that. And it's been just a great help learning how to do Google ads and all that kind of thing through the advice that I've gotten with Build a Music School. And then the other thing that solved the problem of being stuck was when I got an admin who one of the things that I tasked her with is follow up, because I was so busy as a school owner that I knew that I needed to keep in touch with these people who've contacted us, but I just couldn't. I had no time to do that. And now that I have someone doing that, we've grown 30% since I hired her. So even though I'm still doing a lot of things that I did before, I gave her the things that I could never get to, and it's made a huge, huge difference. So those are the two biggest challenges: the retail and the growth, being marketing and follow up, and that's how I solved it. And it's really been working now. I never really made a decision consciously to start a music school. It kind of just grew organically from, I was a solo teacher, and I was in a really small space, and I decided to start doing a little bit of retail with some of the kinder music items the kids used in kinder music. And so I had a little corner over there, and my husband had just started a retail business and was doing really, really well. And he said, you should maybe consider, let's consider doing something bigger than just a corner of your space. And so we found a retail space, a large retail space, and invested quite a bit of money in doing this. And so then we had all this space, and I was teaching, and we had all this space. So I thought, well, this is, I should really hire some teachers. And so that's kind of how I got started. And it's kind of interesting because I said I didn't like retail, but probably without the retail, I would never have done the music school. And in spite of the fact that the retail was such a big challenge, it actually really was fun to have people come in and to sell them things. And, if I could have sold enough to cover all of that expense, that would have been fun. But anyway, to answer the question about how I got started and what my thinking was, it grew out of having the big space and being a music teacher and ending up creating this team, which was really great. To go into debt to do retail, it might not be a mistake for someone else, but I obviously was not good at it, and I did not. I went into debt initially, and then I continued to go into debt to keep it up. So I was deeply underwater for a long time. And as I said, I didn't get out of it until I sold the business. So, but on the other hand, as I also said, I probably wouldn't have a music school if I hadn't done that. So I think the lesson learned is that, well, I still don't think it's a good thing to go into debt. And when I started, I kind of didn't talk about the fact that I got out of this completely for about 5 years. And when I started, I had some funds set aside, and I didn't need to go into debt at all. When I started my most recent version of this business, and I learned the value of saving over debt. But some people do go into debt to start, and they do just fine. So maybe this is just a lesson for me personally. But I also have this attitude about mistakes, in that mistakes often lead you, the answer often leads you forward. And it's not always so bad that you made a mistake, as long as you are humble enough to see that you need to find the answer. And then at least for me, I think every mistake that I've made, in finding the answer, it's propelled me forward. So that's how I feel about mistakes. I think they're a door to the future. One piece of advice I would have for someone wanting to start their own music school is to start teaching privately yourself, if you haven't already. And as you're doing this, put in systems that would support a school. For example, get all of your students doing autopay, and get some marketing going, and think like you already have a school, and try to do that while you are just a single teacher. And then be putting money aside if you can. So when you want to go get a commercial location or expand, you have some money to do that with, and you don't have to go into debt to do it. And then finally, I think I would say, have so many students that you need another teacher. This is a way you could get going without going into debt. If you have money to start, you maybe don't need to do that. But if you have a full studio and then add more teachers, I think that would be financially an easier way to go. So that would be my advice. And yeah, one final piece of advice I would have for anyone wanting to start a music school, or even wherever you're at in the life of your music school, is to build a music school. When I joined, my first thought was, oh my, I wish I had this resource when I started. It would have saved so much time and money and grief. The cost is really, really reasonable. There are a lot of groups out there, and they're a lot more expensive. And I don't know what they do to command that greater cost, because just about everything you need, I think, is here in Build a Music School. The library that they have, videos on how to do just about anything, and the mastermind groups that you can confer with others, the Facebook group with so many ideas for what to do to move forward that you can't implement them all. And then just the camaraderie of having a group of studio owners that you can go to for help if you need something. And I invested further in the elite group, where any any week I can go on a coaching call with any questions that I have and get even more amazing ideas. So yeah, I think of all of the things I could think of to recommend for a new studio owner, this is really the biggest one. Thanks, Johnny. I really love being part of a music school. And to do that, I had to create it, of course. I would never go back to being a solo teacher unless I didn't have the opportunity to, I'm close to retirement age, and I'm hoping to sell my school and still be a part of it, because I really don't want to go back to teaching alone. I love the community that we've built, the teachers and our camaraderie together, and we get together and play together, and just the family atmosphere of the studio is so much more fulfilling and more enjoyable than teaching solo out of my home or even out of a small studio commercial location. So I would never go back. What I'm looking back to when I started, I wish I would have known to look for a coach. But back then, I don't think they existed. But that would really be it. I wish that I could have had a coach or a coaching group like Build a Music School. It's something that's developed over the last bunch of years. You'd have to go to school to be in business or something to get the kind of things that you can get now from a coaching group like this. And even then, I don't think the training is nearly specific enough for this kind of thing. So absolutely would be the one thing I would have done differently. Not try to figure it out all on my own, but to get this kind of training that I'm getting now. So just to kind of summarize what I would recommend for someone who is thinking about starting a music school, has a dream and would like to do it, I would say first, get your own studio going and grow it with the thought in mind that you're going to be moving to a bigger studio, adding teachers and doing all of that, and develop your systems, develop your payment system, develop your marketing system, develop your lead generation system, develop your lead nurturing system, develop those systems and document them so that when you go to grow, you have a system supporting it. And in order to know how to do all of that, I would join Build a Music School and take their step-by-step training program. And good luck.